Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 203 of the Falcoholic Live. I am your host, Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin, joined by my co-host. He is Allen Strk at Allen Strk. There is no underscore now. I forgot to update, the nameplate there. There is no longer an underscore. It's just Allen Strk. But otherwise,
had to evolve.
Yeah, it's over time. We got to evolve in a changing marketplace, okay? And Allen's doing just that. So, Allen, how you doing today?
It's been a hectic day, but we're trucking with training camp, slowly proceeding to preseason. But I think this is the time of year with training camp. You still get that buzz, but then I think within a week we're gonna want to see preseason. But for now, I think we're liking updates. You're doing a fantastic job with the videos, and the more Drake London content, the better.
Yeah, it just anything Drake London related. I'm just like, oh, is that Drake London's number? Okay, just hit record. Drake London sells right now for sure. So
yes, and people give him his credentials. I've seen on Twitter some people not doing you right. And Adnan, I should.
Yeah, come on. For me, it's one thing because usually my original video is going to be the one that goes off anyway. But Adnan needs you guys got to help lift Adnan up. This is like his first credentialed camp. Okay, you guys got to make sure to give Adnan his credit. So. That stuff. And it's like two or three of the people I caught, it's like, oh, journalism student in your bio. It's like, come on, man. Like, I could send one email. One email could be risking your entire career. I'm not going to do that because, that's a little too far.
You're a pleasant human being.
Yes, it's too far. But, somebody else could do that easily. Yeah. Like, you got to be careful, man. Like, those programs take that stuff seriously, so.
It's basic etiquette. Like, come on.
It is. It's like you should know better. So, but again, we're here to talk about the Falcons, not about Twitter feuds and people stealing clips. That there's enough of that in the Discord. But, but yeah, just like earlier in the week when I had Adnan on before he had a chance to go to camp, I was going to open the floor to Allen to get his questions, and I figure that'll probably take us through most of the stuff today. And then if there's anything else I need to add, I will. But yeah. Before we get to that real quick, just a reminder, guys, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate that stuff. I did want to read a donation that came in overnight real quick before we get off and going here from Yannick. Yannick Ngakwe? That would be cool. No, it is Yannick with the $5. Thank you so much, man. He says, I want to thank you for the amazing work at the site, especially for the amazing coverage of camp. I'm a fan from Luxembourg. Oh, wow. Luxembourg showing up.
Wow.
Yeah. Sadly, I can't attend camp, obviously. Yeah, that would be much more of an expense for you to get down there. He says, therefore, speak for many foreign fans. You're really filling a void here. Well, you're welcome, Yannick. I'm glad you're tuning in. Shout out to Luxembourg. It always seems like a nice place. Like, it's a very small country, I feel like. So I've never had small. Like, it's tiny. So shout out for the Luxembourg representation.
I feel like if this person was coming from Luxembourg, like Cordell Patterson would have to dedicate like at least 20 minutes for a nice throwing session. Like, Cordell Patterson does those pitch and catch with the fans.
Yep.
Man, you gotta give him like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, like that trip length alone is worth it. So
pictures, autographs, all that.
Oh yeah, all that good stuff. But yeah, Allen, go ahead, take it away. I am an open book.
First thing, how many days have they done pads yet? Has it been one?
This is the first one. This is the first one
today's
today.
The first one. Okay, because I think I'm most curious about what's going on with the offensive line. But then again, I don't know how much you can take away from it because it has been too much work with pads. But obviously, a big story has to be Elijah Wilkinson starting left guard, at least working with the first team, I should say. Did this catch you off guard, and what do you make of it so far?
Yeah, it was definitely surprised. I mean, at first, like, when they rotated him in, it was like, oh, it's like Wilkinson is like, this is serious. They're actually making him play at left guard, which he hadn't played before, so that was notable. And it was like, oh, okay, well, maybe they're just trying to shut us up. They're like, oh, there's no competition at left guard or something like that. But no, like, Wilkinson's been in there every day since. So Mayfield's had one start. Wilkinson's had 4. So it seems like this is a serious thing. Today, they really they did us dirty today on the first day of pads. It was like mostly on the far field with the team sort of making all the bench guys like making like an echelon around like the 11 on 11. So you had to like look between players to see what was going on. But Grady Jarrett definitely whipped somebody in the interior like 2 or 3 times. It may have been the center. It may have been left guard. I'm guessing it was not Chris Lindstrom.
Yeah.
So it was one of them. I don't know who it was, but somebody got whooped by Grady Jarrett. But that's not necessarily an indictment that you're a terrible player because he does that all the time. But I'm intrigued by Wilkinson. He hasn't played a lot of left guard specifically. He has played left tackle. and right guard. So it's not like Jalen Mayfield only played right tackle, then had to go play on the left side and play guard. So it's not that severe. But, I mean, clearly they like what they've seen so far. They're giving him all these starts.
Yeah, no, it speaks volumes because I just think we were so accustomed to Mayfield being the guy at left guard and then maybe Schaefer potentially competing, but for Wilkinson to step up, because that was a sign that was kind of forgotten about, because as we know, there's been a lot of ex-Chicago Bears coming in.
Yeah.
And I feel like he didn't get much steam. Like Ifedi was the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we haven't seen Ifedi at all. That was surprising too. Like we haven't seen Ifedi at starter right tackle even at all. So
did see him in a fight, I heard.
Yes, that was not surprising. So
yeah. I assume you already covered the fights, even though it doesn't really mean much from the grand scheme of things. But like, have you seen some of the altercations, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Dalton came running in to go throw a punch at Jermaine Ifedi, and Ifedi like squared up, man. It was like fisticuffs time. But like, so there was some speculation from like media types, like, oh, it was like Dalton gonna get cut because he like came running in, to fight. Yeah. He did not, and that's a good, seems like a good thing because he made some plays today too.
Oh, nice.
But it's there weren't any fights today. Saturday was super intense. Like Saturday was the best practice I've ever seen at Flowery Branch. Wow. Like it was intense. There was like it was like almost full. I mean, it was full speed. They weren't tackling, but they were like running into people for pass breakups and all this. Like it was very intense, and like you could tell everyone was like really hot, and at the end of practice it just boiled over because it was like really back and forth. I think the offense sort of got the better of them at the end, and I think that didn't stand very well with the defense, but it was very intense practice. It was a good one. Today, in comparison, kind of boring. There wasn't a lot of recording allowed, which I know you guys are upset about, but it's the first day in pads. I'm guessing it's sort of like the first day after a rest day, the first day in pads. It's probably like, let's take it easy. Let's just get warmed up. And I believe they'll have pads on for like Tuesday and possibly Wednesday as well. So
nice. Yeah. Hey, you're doing what you can. You can't get all the footage. Like sometimes it's just out of your control. But, yeah. I don't know why. Whenever I think of, maybe this is like the Hard Knocks influence, but when I think of like Falcons training camp fights, I just think of that Hard Knocks segment. It was a rare rep of Jake Matthews at right tackle going up against Corey Bierman. And I think Corey Bierman said, "I'll whoop your ass." Mm-hmm. And then you just hear Thomas Demetrio goes, "That Bierman, that's a bad man right there." And I'm just like, "Oh man." I was like, "Oh man." That's the first thing comes to mind with Falcon trade camps. It's just
yep.
Jake Matthews' rare appearance at right tackle going to Corey Bierman.
Yep.
The dark days of 2014.
The very dark season of 2014. Yes. Long in the rearview mirror, thankfully.
Yeah. Other thing I would ask, speaking of offensive line, is it more of a rotation with Dahlman and Hennessy, or is Dahlman getting more of the reps with the first team?
I mean, like technically he's gotten more now because he's gotten 3 starts to Hennessy's 2, but they've like rotated every day. It was like Dahlman the first day, then Hennessy second day, and so on. So this was Dahlman's turn again. I mean, today was really the first day you probably could have seen something that was like meaningful, and we couldn't really see that much. Like it was pretty hard to tell. But I mean, I've sort of felt like the offensive line combination with Dahlman and Wilkinson was looking a little bit better, but it's mostly like a gut feeling at this point, sort of like an overall, like, oh, this feels a little bit better, a little bit tighter, a little bit less pressure, but it's really, I mean, honestly, like we might be able to see a little bit over the next couple of days with more pads, but it's really probably going to be the preseason that we actually get like a good look at it.
Right. You're just trying to take in as much as you can at this point.
Because people want to hear about it. I mean, people want every day Twitter. To know. Yeah,
because this is, they allowed 200 pressures last year. Like that's one. There's mind-boggling PFF stats out there. That one from last season is the biggest standout, that the Falcons offensive line allowed 200 pressures last year.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's an insane number. That is just absurd. I honestly can't believe it. But yes, I mean, watching the tape from last year, it's like, oh, I remember. Yeah.
It's understandable.
Oh yeah, it was dark. It was dark days.
Yeah. But I think that's like probably the biggest thing. Would you say when it comes to training camp battles? I think linebacker is pretty fasting, and of course all the moving pieces across the defensive lines. Something to keep an eye on. But for the offensive line, though, these are like specific battles. Though.
Yeah, they're very like. Very, very clear, like left guard and center are really contentious, whereas right tackle hasn't done anything at all. It may be a thing at some point, I don't know. But it's very clear, and there's like 2 contenders at each one. So in terms of the other ones, like I don't know if there's anything too spicy going on in the defensive line. It seems like there's sort of a clear group of guys that are with the what, like they practice in like most of the time. Today they didn't do it quite as much, but usually they have like a group of like 1, 2, like the first, second string starters on one side, and then on the other field they have the like third, fourth string like depth group. And like there's, there hasn't been a lot of movement between those two groups. I would say like the biggest change has been like Geronimo Allison, the receiver, moving to the starters group like permanently.
Wow.
And then guys like D'Angelo Malone kind of go back and forth. But for the most part, he plays with the starters and like team reps. But yeah, I mean, I think on the defensive line, it's pretty much like Taquan Graham and Ogundeji are going to play a lot on rundowns. Obviously, Anthony Rush is the nose tackle. And then like Vincent Taylor and Marlon Davidson are going to play a lot on passing downs. Those are the guys that are going to rotate in there. And then Grady Jarrett's going to play as much as he possibly can, I'm sure. Like they're going to make that man. They're going to make that man play 70+% if like Grady, whatever you can do, brother, just get out there. So
we gave you that 3-year extension. We're gonna need you got to get all those reps in.
Yeah, he was amazing today. Like he just
okay.
he destroyed an entire series. It was just like defensive line stuffs Damian Williams, Grady Jarrett sack, Grady Jarrett tackle for loss. All right, well that's that series.
I wonder if he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder because by his lofty standards, I thought he had a down year. He still made his presence felt in games, but I thought last year you just didn't see those like terrorizing moments that you saw in past years. Like there were plays from I would say 2016 to 2020 where it was just like there were moments where you watch Grady Jarrett like, oh my god, he wrecked the play. I just didn't feel like we saw too much of that last year where Grady Jarrett just completely destroyed the play.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell he was like taking a little bit of time to adjust to the scheme. Like I think he was playing more like 5-tech, 3-4 defensive end than he really ever has before.
That's not a strong suit.
No, it's not. And he's played anywhere from 3, like from like 1 shade nose to like 3 to 5. But I think they're gonna mostly try to give him reps at 3 because that's where he's best. But like if he has to play 5-tech, 3-4 defensive end with like Lorenzo Carter next to him, like he can do it. It's just like it's sort of like Chris Jones playing edge. It's like sure he can do it, but like is it really the best thing for him? It's probably not. So
you're not the best way to utilize him because he's such a disruptive force. It's like we got to get all out of this. But but you mentioned where he played like 1-tech or like he played nose. I think that was in 2016 when the D line was like the lightest. Like I think the Falcons D line was the lightest in the league. They had no nose tackle to speak of, and he still did a hell of a job.
This was literally centers.
Like that was literally his second year in the league. And I just remember like that Seattle game in particular. He was just taking on everybody. Yeah, but
he's special.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to stick with the D line though because I think 3 things that stood out. I want to get your takes on this. Was 1. D'Angelo Malone looking bigger than I guess his weight indicated from the draft. 2, Lorenzo Carter be on the field often, and then Ogundeji, I guess you could say playing more base because I just didn't feel like he showed anything as a pass rusher last year, but he did show flashes as an edge defender against the run. So I guess you could talk. Just curious what Malone's size, Carter's role, and then Ogundeji playing probably more of a base role because it might suit him.
Yeah, with Ogundeji, he's going to be their run stuffing specialist. Like if they're going up against a run heavy front, run heavy personnel, run heavy team, Ogundeji's going to play a lot. So he will probably get a lot of starts, quote unquote, because of that. But as a pass rusher, I think like if he could just get to like he's not useless as a pass rusher, that would be good. But I don't think they're going to rely on him much for the pass rushing. Last year they sort of had to because it was Steven Means, you know. So
nobody there inside.
Yep. So I think he's good as a run defender. He's got those super long arms. I think he has like something ridiculous, like 36-inch arms or something. So like he's good for that. Like he's a good block shedder. He's good at containing and setting the edge out there. So I like what I've seen from him as a run stuffer for sure. But Malone is the same exact size as Ep203. Like they look exactly the same. It's funny because like Ep203 is technically shorter and Malone's taller, but Ep203 has like long arms and Malone has a little bit shorter arms. So they both look like they're like 250-ish, like I would say. So he's not 240 like he's listed on the team website. He's no longer 240. He looks exactly the same size as Ep203. I don't really have concerns with that. And then Lorenzo Carter, he's playing the most snaps of like any edge defender. He's definitely like their primary guy. He plays some coverage. He plays in run stuffing. He plays as a pass rusher. As much sort of he's like the edge version of Grady Jarrett. Like they're just gonna be like Lorenzo, like, how much can you play? Like, go play. Like, that's what we. So at edge, and defense tackle and edge, like, you can't play 100% of the snaps unless you're a madman. But I think they're gonna have him play like 50, 60, 70% plus easily. And like his coverage is really unique. Like he's the rare edge defender that's like, if you drop him in coverage, he's actually an asset there as opposed to being like a decoy. So
I think he has legit experience playing the Sam role. I think
yeah.
like I think he did it with the Giants maybe earlier in his career before shifting more to an edge rushing based role. But I don't want to bring up now. I don't want to make any Vic Beasley claims, but I remember like Vic Beasley wanted to play Sam and just did not go well. Like I think if Lorenzo Carter had to play a little bit of Sam, it would work out. Yeah. I don't really know who would fit in that roster. Then again, I don't even know if a Sam is really gonna be required because they play more of 3-4, right?
Generally, yeah, especially like rundowns. I think I saw like a handful of like four guys on the line stuff, but it was mostly like 3-4, like quasi 3-4, sort of like even like their 4-3 stuff was like 4-3 under with like another linebacker on the line of scrimmage. So it's gonna be mostly 3-4.
So news came out today about Deion Jones. They haven't found a training partner, unsurprisingly, and I don't know. I guess he's staying on the roster for now because he's not going to be a distraction. But what'd you make of that news?
I was surprised. I mean, Aaron Freeman, he was pretty confident that he would get cut based on information that I'm sure he had heard. So I think this is a change because Aaron doesn't usually, like, Aaron, like he doesn't usually say stuff like that. So I have a feeling like somebody like the legitimate told him that. But so I think this was a change. I don't know if it was like they really just haven't found any trade partners, or maybe they're like trying to sort of rehab Jones' trade value, or maybe they're like, we're only going to save $1 million if we cut him, so we might as well just keep him, and just if we need him, he's there. It could also be, and this is my sort of conspiracy theory, is like they're gonna hold him and hope that they can trade him before the deadline, basically, and see if something comes up, like if they can make a trade, because every week that he's on the roster, his price tag in terms of the contract goes down because the Falcons have paid him, that game. So at a certain point by the trade deadline, his contract will only be like $7 million or something or whatever, that another team would have to pay. So at that point, it might be easier for someone to make a move for him, and people might get desperate in terms of injuries and stuff like that.
Exactly, because it's not hard for teams to get decimated, and there's 3 former coaches / coordinators when you look at Dallas, LA Rams, New York Jets. There's ties there. So
yeah,
one of those teams is banged up. Well, maybe not the Cowboys, because I feel the Cowboys have like 8 linebackers on their roster. Although they did lose Keanu Neal.
Yep.
So maybe it's 7. I just noticed the Cowboys have so many linebackers. But team like the Rams, who have like 0 depth, like the Rams, if you look at their roster, they're so top heavy. Like maybe Ricky Morris makes a call, maybe Jeff Ulbrich with the Jets. So
yeah.
That could work out. But it's just not a murky situation. It's crazy to see someone that was like at one point a cornerstone now become such an afterthought. And now it's just like he's on the roster, but there's really no reason for him to be on the roster. Like, who could you imagine having that conversation back in like 2018?
Yeah, that would be wild. Like, you couldn't believe it. I mean, honestly, it's hard to believe, but I mean, to me, I think it was probably like Dean Pease being like, I don't want this dude on the roster. Like, I don't like the effort. And like, now that we know he had a shoulder injury, like some of the stuff makes a little bit more sense. Like maybe he wasn't really like not giving maximum effort. It was like, my shoulder like hurts bad. Like I really can't tackle at full speed. Like I just can't. Like if you're like, people that haven't played don't really know, but like when you're injured, like you can't get it out of your head. Like you can't like forget that you have a shoulder injury and then go make a full speed tackle and just try to ignore it. Like you can try, but it's always going to be there in your head. You're sensitive to it, and it affects the way you play. And I'm sure that had something to do with it. I'm sure there were some effort problems as well. But
the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I think it's been multiple seasons. Like there were times I was watching tape in 2020 where it was just like he did not look like he was giving it all on plays. Like I remember a game against Carolina. This was, I think, Dan Quinn's last game, and you just saw certain snaps where he was just not taking on blocks, and it was just it was what it was. I was just like, oh man,
it's disappointing.
It's just hugely disappointing, from someone like I said who was legitimately a cornerstone of that defense. Like 2017, 2018, it was crazy to see a Falcons player being mentioned as this is how a linebacker should be. Like he was the prototype. Boy, that went away quick.
It did. What does NFL stand for? Not for long. So
Not for long. That's right.
yep.
That's right. But the linebackers, though, so the Evans Walker, that's looking like the likely combo on passing downs.
Yeah, which I was surprised by, because Rashawn Evans not really known for his coverage ability,
Yeah.
And they've got Nick Kwiatkowski, who's pretty good in coverage. Obviously, Michael Walker's good in coverage, so I sort of thought that it might be Walker and Kwiatkowski on passing downs with Rashawn Evans subbing in for one of those guys on rundowns. But really, it seems like Evans is staying on the field pretty much all the time, and Walker's playing most of the snaps next to him. Kwiatkowski gets rotated in sometimes. Walker has looked good, I've thought. He's been the spy in like 7-on-7 on Mariota and Ritter, so that's notable. He's the guy that they want chasing down quarterbacks. Eventually that's probably going to be Troy Anderson because he's like faster than every quarterback almost.
Right.
Except maybe Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson might legitimately be the only quarterback that's faster than Troy Anderson. But which is really impressive considering Jackson ran like a 4.3 something. So. But yeah, I like the linebacker group. I mean, I don't really know how Deion Jones is going to factor into it, and honestly, like I don't really know if he's going to be on the roster week 1. Like,
he might be a healthy scratch.
Yeah, exactly, and like
really hard to stomach, but yeah,
and like in a lot of ways, it's like it was becoming a little bit too obvious, right? That they were gonna like cut him, like they were considering cutting him. So I think this is maybe some PR, like, oh, we're not gonna cut him. So if you want him, you have to trade for him because we're not gonna cut him. So maybe nothing has really changed, but they've sort of like they wanted to put this out there. I don't know, but
when it comes to like third-year breakout candidates, because that's like a popular term, and like this time of year, like people project who could be like a third-year breakout candidate. It could be Mykal Walker, maybe, because I'm not trying to say he's going to have like a Foye Oluokun third-year explosion, because to me, 2020 Foye Oluokun was tremendous. Like I really thought he was one of the better linebackers in the league, if not top 10 caliber. Like the way he was forcing turnovers, and it just seemed like every week there was like a couple high-impact plays. You're just like, wow, what a standout play he just made. Hopefully Walker could be that, but it's just Walker. It's like been in spurts. Like I was a little disappointed last year. He didn't get more reps. So hopefully he can make up for lost time. But I just think when it comes to the long-term future of the linebacker position, besides Troy Anderson, of course, I think they really want to see Walker take that lead.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me too. Like I would love to see Walker play well. Like I think he's deserved more stuff. Like I think he really has. So it's it's disappointing.
I wonder if he's on that Oluokun trajectory, because to me, Foye Oluokun should have played a lot more in 2019, but they just kept continuing to give Devondre Campbell snaps. And hey, I know Devondre Campbell's an all-pro now. No Campbell's slander here. But I just remember that 2019 season. I'm like, oh man, they really should give Oluokun more snaps. But I don't know. Dan Quinn, I guess, was focused on saving his job, and he did. To an extent, he did. But
he did.
But I wonder, like, they should have gave Walker more snaps this year. But it might not hurt his development though, because ultimately now he's gonna get everything he can handle. He's in prove it now mode, which
exactly. That's the thing about Walker is like every time he's played, it's been like, oh, he looks good. So it's like that always gives people hope, right? Is like, oh yeah, well, we can hope that he's just gonna continue to maintain that or continue to make plays. And I think that finally he's gonna get his opportunity. I think he's been patient. I think he's had to wait a long time, probably more than he should have because of the scheme change and stuff like that. And he's had great linebackers in front of him. I mean, he had like prime Debo for a year, and then he's had Foye Oluokun, who emerged as this one of these really good NFL linebackers, and now he's just got all these like logjam of veterans that came in. But I think he deserves a shot to start, and I think he will this year. Like if he can be a starter. The Falcons could have their starting linebackers super cheap for a year next year. Like they could have Walker and they could have Troy Anderson as their starters for basically like nothing. And that helps, obviously.
It's huge.
Yeah. That helps. Every little bit, because they're going to have money, but they'd probably like to spend it on some like big time guys. Hopefully offensive and defensive linemen. That would be nice. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I know people probably want us to talk offense at some point, but I definitely got asked about the safeties. It's probably my last major defensive question. Is just because there's obviously uncertainty given they're two young players, but there's also excitement. So I don't know, what have you made of Grant Hawkins so far?
Yeah, they've been awesome. They've been what you're hoping for. That they started next to each other from the first day. It's never gone away. Like they've stayed the starting duo ever since. Richie Grant has been, I think, the best safety by far. Jalen Hawkins has been good also. I think Grant has been the most impressive Grant has been the only person that's been other than AJ Terrell, that's been able to match up on Kyle Pitts with like any level of success at all. And I think that's impressive. You know, a safety matching up against Kyle Pitts is really a mismatch. I mean, honestly, you have to. Yeah. He's the type of guy. He would get the Kelsey treatment. You know, that you put your number one corner on him, and you're like, just do something, anything. And Richie Grant has done a good job, like, you know, which is like he contests things that are thrown to Kyle Pitts. You know, he doesn't just let Kyle Pitts walk all over him. That's pretty much all you can do. Because Kyle Pitts has been that good.
Gotta stay competitive.
So, yep. Yeah, but Hawkins has been good too. I have liked what I've seen from Hawkins. He's going to play more deep. Grant's going to play closer to the line. But again, like in DMP's scheme, they're going to rotate. They're going to confuse people. But like in general, I think they like Grant a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage and Hawkins a little bit further away. But, you know, does it really matter that much? Probably not.
Yeah, because I think with Grant's background come into the league, we saw like this hard hitter. Like you look at the Sky report, like a real physical presence. And I think whenever you're trying to build or at least rebuild a defense, you want that enforcer. So I'm hoping Richie Grant can be that enforcer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hopeful. He's been right. Like we haven't seen full tackling yet, but he's been one of the like most consistent guys. Like, oh, when a play gets made, you see Grant fly in and tap, like, because they're just doing like two-hand touch basically at this point. But he's the first guy there, and he taps, you know, every time. Like, oh yeah, he like if this was a live game, he would have been there to lay the wood on somebody, or he's there and run support, or he's there on the screen, or whatever he needs to be. On that Auden Tate touchdown that was blowing up, where he made that one-handed grab, Grant was like a fingertip away from deflecting that. Like he like saw it, he dropped back in his zone to cover it, but like Mariota, it was a great throw. Auden Tate made a crazy catch, you know, but Grant doesn't get any credit for that, but he was absolutely right there, a fingertip away. So,
which is what you want to see, because to be last year, he was just out of position at times. Like, I think the most frustrating thing with Richie Grant last year, whether it was just open field tackling or just taking a bad angle, there were just moments where just like you expect the safety to make this play. It's kind of a routine play.
Yeah,
he just didn't do it. And I think that's why he was in the doghouse for quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he was just overwhelmed with the mental stuff, all the new stuff, playing slot corner too. Like he's not used to doing that like at all. And like I honestly think that experience there will help him long term, like getting used to actually having to man up on guys and play that way. Like if he ever needs to do that, like he's now got actually some experience there, but that's not really his game. Like you're not going to get the most out of Richie Grant having him play on the line of scrimmage and like mirror receivers and like play run support as like a slot corner. He's a guy that like he needs to survey a little bit more and use his athleticism and instincts to go make plays, as opposed to being like, I'm just going to mirror somebody and follow them. And like, then, so it's a little bit of a different skill set, but
absolutely.
So I think it'll be better playing safety. Like he played his entire college career, you know?
as he was drafted into as well.
Yes, exactly.
So. All right, we've gone 30 minutes without any quarterback talk. I feel like the listeners are going to just be like, we got to know what's going on with Mariota and Ritter. So I don't know. What do you make of the battle? What's, I think, the biggest bright spots when it comes to Ritter? What's one like frustrating tendency? I'm just curious, what's going on with the battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mariota's been really good.
Oh, wow.
Right. Today was a weaker day for the offense in general. I think the first day in pads sort of shocked the system a little bit. So the offense had two really good days in a row the last couple of days. Saturday, the offense was just like, man, they were impressive. But Mariota has been really good, like way better than I thought. The accuracy is not Matt Ryan. Like you're not going to see the pinpoint stuff that Matt would deliver, the rhythm of the passing game where he would just get into a groove and just, deal. But Mariota has some other traits that obviously open up some different things for the offense. And I stress that I don't want to say like, oh, it's better. Like, Matt Ryan is a certain type of quarterback. He's going to be a lethal passer, and that's very good, in its own way. But you have to build the offense around that. And with Mariota, it's like he's a good passer, but he's not an elite passer like Ryan was. But he does offer you the mobility, the plays with his legs, and we finally got to see that over the last... We didn't really see it today at all. I think today honestly was kind of limited, so I hesitate to draw too many conclusions from today. I think it was first day in pads, kind of a warm-up. The defense looked great. I want to give them their credit, like they did dominate, but I'm not like concerned about the offense. It's really been back and forth pretty much every other day. But Mariota on Saturday 2 first down runs when the coverage was really good, and he was able to escape a rushing touchdown in the red zone after like a pretty good play for a first down. Like he just escaped and picked up a rushing touchdown. He had a really long run in 11 on 11 like on Friday that he got chased down by Troy Anderson. Actually, that was the only guy that had a chance to catch. Troy Anderson came from outside the frame, and just like you see him running in, because Troy Anderson's an insane athlete, but he's been good. He's been sharp in command. Like they haven't thrown picks like at all, and I don't think it's because like the coverage has been really good. It's just that like both he and Ritter, like I think they've thrown 1 pick in the entire training camp, and it was like the first day. They're not putting the ball in harm's way. Like it's an overthrow or it's in the receiver's hands. There have been some pass breakups, but like they haven't really given the DBs much of an opportunity to make a play on the ball. And that is important too. I don't think they're going to, with Matt Ryan, I think you would see him more willing to take those chances because he trusted his accuracy more. I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative, but again, that's probably why they went out and got the 2 towers type of, offense that they're going to run here, where they've got, Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Auden Tate and Bryan Edwards that are these huge receivers with massive catch radiuses. And you're just like, quarterback, protect the ball, put that ball where only these receivers can get it. But like, they're all huge with huge arms. So you can put it really in a big area. And so if you can do that, and like to Matt Ryan's credit, like he didn't really have anyone like that last year at all. Like I think the biggest receiver on the team was Tajay Sharp at like 6'1",
Yeah.
So, and he had Kyle Pitts, obviously,
yeah, of
but
course,
like,
yeah.
Everyone else was like, no one's really a plus in a contested catch situation. So Matt Ryan had to be perfect, and it was difficult. I think this year these guys are going to help the quarterback look better because of their catch radius, because of their ability to win these contested balls. Like they might not create a lot of separation. Like I don't know that Drake London's ever going to win by creating huge separation. Auden Tate, we know, doesn't create any separation. It just doesn't matter. And then Kyle Pitts is going to create separation. that's your separation receiver. And they have guys like Alameda and Damiere Byrd was good today for sure. This was his best day. Those guys can, those are your faster, your speedy guys. And then you have Kyle Pitts, who's an alien. But it's I think they have a much more varied and like well-rounded group of guys at the receiving position this year that's going to allow the quarterbacks. Mariota and Ritter, they're not on the same level as Matt Ryan with their accuracy, but maybe they don't need to be. Like maybe that's the thing. And like Ritter, I talked a lot about Mariota to say something about Ritter. Like Ritter has been good for a rookie in his first 5 days of camp. Like the drop off from Mariota to Ritter is not massive. Ritter had a better day today, I would say. Now he was playing against the second string defense, but like he's like a step below Mariota in terms of his processing speed, in terms of his overall accuracy, and he has not really run more than like once or twice in the entire training camp. So I don't know if they're coaching that way, or if he's just a little bit hesitant because he wants to maybe prove himself as a passer, or if he's never really, like, despite his great athleticism, he's never been a run heavy quarterback. Like he's effective on the ground, but he's not a guy that really runs a lot. He's much closer to Matt Ryan than, a running quarterback. So I think that's a part of the game for Ritter that's actually going to have to develop, whereas Mariota even like didn't necessarily do that a bunch in Tennessee, but I think we're going to see him utilize it enough to make it a threat, but not like overuse it to where you're risking injury and that sort of thing. I think that's what they want, is like, we need the threat of the quarterback run to help the offense out and make sure the defense has to account for Mariota and Ritter if and when he plays. But I don't think it's like going to be Lamar Jackson or something where this is like a featured part of the offense as these dudes taking off and running, which is fine. I think that's fine. So, so far better than expected, the quarterback side, I think.
That's hugely promising given all the uncertainty and just all like just the negative, not bad. There was backlash, but just a negative thing after Matt Ryan trade. Just you have clearly a downgrade at the quarterback position. Just like but you're not going to see so much optimism. But at least these two are delivering. I always felt Mariota, even though he has his limitations, like for the most part, I don't want to say he overachieves, but like if you get him in the right system, he could be effective. And I think there's at least what I saw when he was the Raiders, like limited reps, but he does have some fearlessness to him when it comes to scrambling. And I remember, Arthur Smith was those run option plays with Tannehill, particularly 19 and 20. They were lethal. Like, and maybe Henry's presence, of course, plays a huge part in it, but I just felt just the timing of it and designs. I think it played a big part of them being so efficient in the red zone. And I think that's just a big thing because the Falcons, I believe, were like 23rd in red zone conversion rate. They're like 55%. It's like this team's gonna. Yeah, you want to get in the 60% range. So I'm hoping,
Arthur Smith, his 2 years, he was like the best red zone coordinator in the NFL. He was like 72+% every year, and I think, and Ryan Tannehill was real. Like Ryan Tannehill's the same way as Mariota, and like I think a lot of people were like, oh well, Arthur Smith benched Mariota, so he like that must mean like I don't understand why he signed him. It's because he actually like Mariota was their starter going into the year. He had nerve damage in his hand. Like he was just not as effective as he could have been, except against the Falcons, notably. But like it's really just like the threat. Like we need the threat to be legitimate. And Ryan Tannehill's the exact same way. Like he's not a run first quarterback. He's not even a run second quarterback, but he is like, I can run and I'm fast. So like if you ignore Mariota and you don't pay attention to him, he will score. Like, so they have to keep that in mind. And with Matt Ryan was a savvy runner. He was not an effective runner. Like if you like absolutely left a huge lane for Matt Ryan, he would take it and get some rushing touchdowns every year. But like he would need that huge lane to avoid getting smacked at the goal line. And teams knew that. Like they could play it really loose and just have someone sort of keep an eye on Ryan because Matt Ryan, his beautiful gazelle strides, like it takes a while for him to get up to speed. They don't necessarily need to worry about him just sort of slashing into the end zone in 2 seconds. It's like, oh, he's going to take some time to wind up and get going. But Mariota is very different. Like that's what we saw Saturday was that, he would be like looking like, okay, I'm rolling out to throw. Oh, I'm just going to tuck it and then pick up like 5 yards because he's fast. Like he's quick. And that's a part of the offense that we just haven't had here with Matt Ryan. We had a lot of really good things with Matt Ryan in the passing game, obviously, but maybe in some ways this fits what Arthur Smith wants a little bit better than what Ryan did in terms of opening up the ground game a little bit more. Because, again, like you said, they don't have Derrick Henry. They don't have that threat in terms of the run game right now. They have Cordell Patterson, who's threatening in a very unique way, but he's, when you get him in the red zone, he's a monster apparently also. But, like, that man scored so many touchdowns. But they don't have Derrick Henry, so they really need the threat of a quarterback running until they can at least establish some sort of running game presence.
Right. And also, I think to compensate for the offensive line.
Yeah, definitely.
That run blocking was just a disaster last year. And
yeah.
Who knows how much he'll be improved. I think it's anywhere to go but up, but still, like, what type of standard will they set? Given that, you look at the offensive line depth chart, just like, there's a lot of uncertainty here.
Oh God!
But you do at least have the threat of Mariota, which I think is most important.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple more questions. I got just how crowded the receiver room is. Like there's a lot of names there. I know star power might be lacking, and there's a lot of he's still in the league, but I don't know. You see updates with Tate, Damiere Byrd. Like I totally forgot Geronimo Allison was on the team, and he's having a phenomenal camp. Long live those tweets from 6 years ago. But what do you make of just who do you think can establish? Because like ultimately, there's gonna be 5 receivers on the roster. Like there's gonna be some tough cuts that have to be made. I'm not saying you have to make a prediction right now who's gonna make the team, but like who do you think's putting themselves in good company because it is competitive?
Yeah, there's sort of a clear dichotomy in the receiving room right now. And like Edwards going out, which Bryan Edwards was not at practice today. I did ask Fontenot about it. He didn't sound concerned. He actually wasn't even sure like if he would practice or not today. It was like that. So that to me is like, oh, I can't even tell you if he's going to practice or not. Like means that maybe it was like a game time decision sort of thing. And then Arthur Smith later was like, yeah, it's just day to day. Like it's not long term at all. We're just going to wait and see. So like Edwards wasn't out there, but Edwards has definitely earned his spot as like a wide receiver too. Obviously, you have Drake London, who's been one of the best players out there, who's going to be given as big of a role as he can handle. And honestly, Olamide Zaccheaus clearly has the coach's favor. Like they love him. He's working with like the top guys every time. So he's a lock in there as well. And then behind those three, there's like another group of like 3 to 4 guys, which is Auden Tate, Damiere Byrd, Kadarius Hodge, and now Geronimo Allison. And today, with Edwards out, we got a lot more targets to Damiere Byrd and Geronimo Allison in particular. And Byrd was the one that really took advantage. Like I would say Byrd was like the best offensive player today. And he's that deep threat. You know, he's got that deep speed. He had 2 really good long catches. He had a really great play against Casey Hayward, who's a very good corner, where he just laid out and dove for it on the pass for like it was like a 30 or 40 yard gain. So he's certainly very capable. I think he's really underrated. Like people forget Damiere Byrd was like, there was like a period where he was like the number 1 receiver on the Patriots for like half a season, that Cam Newton season, or the Jarrett Stidham season in New England. He had like 700 yards.
Right.
Like he was like their guy. Yeah. So like this is the one maybe the most proven of all the receivers on the roster, which is really funny. But like I think he's definitely gonna make it. They don't really have like they have Zacchaeus and they have him as like the deep threat speedy guys. So I think they want a couple of those guys for sure. And then we know Kadarius Hodge. Like Kadarius Hodge every day just makes like 2 or 3 plays, and they're not spectacular plays, but they're like good. You're like, oh, okay, that's good. Like Kadarius Hodge is like the classic wide receiver 5. That's like, oh yeah, he can play wide receiver 3 for a game or 2. Your offense will be fine. He's not going to be a plus really as a receiver. He's sort of like a solid guy, but he's an elite gunner. We haven't seen this.
Yeah, but say he has to contribute special teams. I assume.
Yeah. He's an elite gunner. Like, if you watch his gunner tape over the last few years, he's maybe one of the NFL's like best gunners. So like he's got the special teams role. Like, so I think he's sort of a shoe-in because of his special teams acumen. He's going to be one of the featured gunners. You have that, and then like he's a solid wide receiver. He's going to be where he's supposed to be. He's going to catch the ball. He's got good hands. He's not special or a standout player as a receiver, but he's perfectly capable. And so then you really have a tough situation there with like Auden Tate, of course, who's been making spectacular catches, but he doesn't play special teams. And he doesn't really create any separation. And you already have sort of 2 guys of that archetype with Bryan Edwards and Drake London. So, like, what does that mean for Auden Tate? Like, I would be very sad if he's not on this roster, if only because, like, if you lose one of those guys at the top for any amount of time, you have Auden Tate who can come in and replicate that role very well, play well. And, like, Auden Tate's not going to make it to the practice squad. He's not going to clear waivers. Like, he's going to get picked up. So, to me, it's like you sort of have to lean towards keeping a guy like Auden Tate. And that might lead to the team keeping 6 receivers because of that. And obviously that makes it difficult for Geronimo Allison, but I think Geronimo Allison has been pretty good. Like he's gotten to get upgraded to the 1-2 group. I don't know that he's been as impressive as those other guys so far. Maybe like sort of, he's very similar to like Kadarius Hodge. But I don't think his special teams role is as good. So it's complicated, but I know you want the UDFA wide receiver takes too, and I will say Dave will be happy because Stanley Berryhill has been really good. Like Stanley Berryhill, I think has been the best of the undrafted guys. He looks really sharp as a route runner. He's got great hands. He's made a couple of really good catches, touchdowns with the second, third team, in team sessions. So I think Berryhill is definitely a practice squad guy. I like Jared Bernhardt. Everything I've heard is that the team absolutely loves Jared Bernhardt, the lacrosse star. And I think he's shown, like, oh, he belongs here. Like, he doesn't look out of place here. He's definitely, like, one of the more impressive of the bottom of the roster guys. So I think he's probably going to make it, too, which makes it really then interesting because there's, like, a bunch of guys now competing maybe. Like, they're going to probably keep 3 guys in the practice squad. That's what they did last year. So it's like, oh, if you've got Berryhill and you've got Jared Bernhardt, then it's like Geronimo Allison and Cameron Batson and Tyshawn James and Frank Darby. Like these are all guys that are all competing maybe for 1 practice squad spot. So it really is crowded, like you said.
Forget about Frank Darby. Oh,
yeah,
man. He was supposed to get snaps last year.
I don't think Frank Darby's got a chance to make the roster, but I mean practice squad is certainly in reach still.
It's crazy how crowded it got because last year it was a really dire situation at receiver, and now. It's still a work in progress, but at least there's talent there and there's at least moving pieces and there's upside as well. I think Bryan Edwards is very intriguing. I know he bounced some inconsistencies in the Raiders, but the big play potential is there. And I think, once again, bring up the red zone. He's someone that I think could win in those narrow areas and be like that physical presence with teams are keying on Pitts and
Oh,
London, even though it's going to be hard to key on both players because you only have so many defenders on the field.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm pleasantly surprised about Zacchaeus because I was pretty down on Zacchaeus after last year. Just maybe he's better off in a situational role rather than a primary role, because I just thought when he had to play a lot of snaps, he just kind of looked overwhelmed. Like he couldn't make contested catches. He created separation because he is a burner, but it's just there was moments where you kind of need him to make those catches, and whether it was just the coverage was too tight and like he just got overwhelmed, or
he's a complimentary guy.
Yeah,
like he's not a Drake London, Bryan Edwards guy, Kyle Pitts. But like if he's out there with Drake London and Bryan Edwards and Kyle Pitts as like the fourth target, I think that's a great role for him going up against somebody's slot corner or their lowest man. Like he can definitely make plays and burn some guys. But when he got thrust into like, actually, Olamide, you're like our wide receiver one, like that is not ever going to be his game. Like that's just not fair. So like he's just like, that's not his game. That's not really fair to ask of like an undrafted guy, like to go be that sort of player. But they really like him. Technically, I think he's the second highest paid receiver behind Drake London. So like they like him. I think they're gonna find a role for him. Maybe it'll be some gadgety stuff, maybe it'll be some creative stuff, some deep stuff in there too. But I think they really like him, and I'm hoping that as a more complementary target, he can have an more effective target share than he did last year.
Yeah, that might be the solution. Because look, we know he's a burner. Like he can get downfield, and I think the Falcons were lacking in that department last year when it comes to a true deep threat. So yeah, it's encouraging. Before we just have some fun, like just talking about general stuff training camp, is there any other things you want to highlight? Like, is there anything you've watched for that you like to pinpoint?
Yeah, we did have a question real quick that I'll get to because it's relevant, in terms of training camp questions. Dwight II went to $3. Thank you so much, Dwight. Dwight from the fake United Kingdom. He's not really from the UK, but he's been trolling for a couple of days. But thank you, Dwight. He says, it seems like Taquan Graham is listed close to 300. Does he look that big? Inquiring minds want to know. Yeah, he looks like defensive tackle weight. I would say he looks similar to the other defensive tackles they have. I don't know if he looks as big as he doesn't look like Anthony Rush or anything like that. But he certainly looks like 300-ish, in that sort of range. Mad Tom K. Fun fact: I'm actually from Antarctica. Okay. Show me them ice caps pics. But let me check my notes just to make sure I don't forget anything. I mean, we talked about like the defense was really good today. This was the best day I think so far from the defense. They dominated the 11-on-11 sessions. The second team offense had a lot more success, but in terms of the first team, the defense was really good. Let's see. We saw the punters today for the first time. Okay. So, Evan Birchfield, shout out. Yeah.
I heard there was some buzz on the punter. Arthur Smith was talking up. Bradley Pinion?
Yeah. Veteran Bradley Pinion. Yep. So he was, I overheard it because I was leaving early to have a special lunch today. Arthur Smith was basically like, oh yeah, like we expect him to be the punter, and like, Seth Vernon, like we're going to play the best guy, but like, we expect Bradley. So that's not a shock because Pinion's like a 5-year vet. Right. I think he might have had one Pro Bowl. I'm not sure, but he's also like one of the best kickoff guys in the NFL, which is good because it sort of complements Younghoe Koo, who's a great onside kick person, but in terms of the kickoffs, he's pretty much been below average throughout his career. So getting a punter in here, it's actually the same exact age as Younghoe Koo too, could give us like a long-term Bosher Bryant sort of situation where they sort of complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
That's a dream. You mentioned those two names, just brings a big smile on my face.
Yeah. Well, we know we got the Koo. We got Koo in here. We got the kicker figured out. Punter, right. Well, and honestly, like we had a good punter. Like once they signed Thomas Morstead, we had like the best, like one of the best punting situations in the league. So maybe we should give them the benefit of the doubt on punter. But
people forget about that because they pulled the Saints thing against him because he was such a mainstay on the Saints. So I think Tom Moore. I'm just thinking, oh my God, he was on the Saints for at least a decade.
Yep. So maybe that's why they couldn't keep him around. They knew this wouldn't fly long term. But I like Pinion. I mean, honestly, the UDFA Seth Vernon's a good punter too. So like they might keep him around on the squad or something as insurance. But that was the punter battle.
Do you care to elaborate on this lunch that you had, or are you going to keep that to yourself?
I mean, I had lunch with a guest on the show that was a recent guest on the show. So, you know.
I wonder if it was Anthony Rush, man. I wonder
It was
what
not
he's
Anthony
eating.
Rush. That would be cool,
Okay.
though. He would put us to shame if we had lunch with him. He'd probably just be
man.
like inhaling stuff. I know he said he has to chug like a bunch of water every day because he loses like 8 pounds of water weight every practice. But because he's playing at like 345, 350, so that's nuts.
Mammoth of human being.
Yeah, no, but I you know, it's a Falcons person for sure.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
yeah, but it was a fun lunch. Adnan was there too, so you if you check the Discord, you can find out.
Okay.
So yeah, you're in the Discord, right?
Yes, I am in the Discord.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll check it out. I just wanted if you wanted to give the listener some insight, but it's okay. Things we got. Sometimes you just got.
Yeah, I want to be classy about it, you know.
Right,
but yeah,
right.
it's not necessarily public, but yeah.
Have you seen Will at all? Our pal Will McFadden.
Yes. I had dinner with Will last night. Adnan and I had dinner with Will, so that was cool. Will was at practice on Saturday too. I think he's going to be back out there on Wednesday. He's going to take the day off. And then Adnan was back at the branch today. He took today off as well. So yeah, I got to hang out with those guys. I had met Adnan last year. I hadn't met Will until Saturday, so that was cool.
Is Adnan still wearing the shorts proudly? The brand?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think he actually wore jeans to dinner though. That was like I was surprised.
Okay. Hey, you know, you go to dinner, man. We can't show up like you go for you can't even show up like you're going to do a workout now.
Yeah, we gotta class it up. Yeah, but
strong Falcoholic contingency out there.
Oh yeah. We got who else was? Let's see, Tyler Algier with the pads on. I thought he looked better, so that's not surprising. But yeah, this is where he's gonna look better compared to like Avery Williams, who was very impressive as a pass catcher, particularly. But you know, Algier had a great run. The running game didn't get going at all. Like the defense shut it down. But Tyler Algier was one of the only guys that had success. So props to him. He had a great run at the end of practice that was impressive. Jordan Brailford, the former 7th round pick of the Vikings, I think from 3 or 4 years ago. He did have a sack.
That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah, he had a sack at the end of practice. He sacked Ritter. So you get a sack, you get a shout out.
Yeah, hey, when you're on the Falcons, when you're edge rusher on the Falcons, you get a sack.
We only had 18 of those last year. So
who is the edge rusher? Oh my God, I should really know his name. That got the key sack against the Saints. It was like that one shining moment. He beat Teron Armstead, who was probably at 40%.
Oh man, I should know. I know
he was a big strip sack.
Yeah, I know Jacob Twatty Mariner had some, and then they cut him.
Yeah, you can't forget that name.
He still finished as the third highest sacker on the Falcons, even though he only played 5 games with the team. But I can't remember. It was somebody though.
I want to say Jordan something, but I'm probably wrong. But
James Waters.
James Waters, there we go.
Yeah.
Good man.
James Waters.
He had one strip sack at the Saints. Build a statue.
Yeah, and then Marlon Davidson with his pick six at Brady. He stays on the roster every year. He gets a pick six. So Marlon, keep doing that, buddy. But you're good.
He's someone that we should though, and I think we were talking about third year breakouts. Boy, what a pivotal time for his.
Oh, they need him. They need him really bad.
Yeah, because when you talk about interior pass rushers on the roster, besides Jarrett, he's the first one that comes to mind as someone that on the passing downs you need him in there.
Yeah.
Who else stands on the roster that you think could be for the
Vincent Taylor? That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vincent Taylor's been.
And isn't he 330?
He's bigger. He definitely looks bigger. I'm not sure what he's actually listed at, but I think he's 315, something like that. So he's a little bit bigger. I do think Vincent Taylor's going to make this roster as one of those rotational pass rushers. And he's flashed too at times. He had a good season with the Dolphins. I think he was supposed to start for the Texans last year and had that season-ending injury. And they're going to give Davidson a shot certainly to earn it. I guess they're really talking up that he's actually finally healthy for the first time so far. And he came in the COVID year and he got COVID and then he got hurt, and it's so that really derailed his rookie season, and we're all pulling for him.
Coaching change didn't help one bit.
Yeah, certainly not. So, and then the other guy I got to shout out, of course, is tight end quarterback extraordinaire Felipe Franks.
There we go. Here we go.
That man has caught a touchdown, I'm pretty sure, in every practice. He just roasts those second team linebackers. That man just embarrasses them. Poor Dorian Etheridge just got postered by him today. So, Franks looks like a legitimate backup tight end.
The experiment's real.
Yep, it's legit. He has played entirely tight end all training camp. Now Smith did say they would leave him listed as a quarterback, whether or not they said they would give him some reps throughout training camp at quarterback. I have yet to see this rep, if it even exists. But maybe they'll have him play in the fourth quarter or something to take reps away, like to end the game or something like that.
Yeah,
but
that could work.
yeah, but other than that, he's playing tight end. He's basically a tight end. But I got to throw in that he's still technically listed as a quarterback. So
yeah.
he's like the better Taysom Hill.
I mean, that's the hope, I guess. Yeah, it just to me it was just such a disaster. Like, I just feel like every time they tried to experiment last year, it was either a loss of yards or maybe 2 yards. Like every time, like I can't remember one time it was a productive play. Like I'm asking for a 4-yard game, and I don't recall one 4-yard game.
No, and it was like, this man's never played tight end for 1 second his entire life, and you're just going to throw him into an NFL game and be like, go play tight end. Like this, Tim Tebow couldn't do it. What makes you think?
Oh, man. Damn, we're good.
Just bury the man. Literally signed to sell jerseys. So, poor guy. But I don't feel that bad for him. But
I just have one follow-up question, just given that you spoke to any other like highlights from the Terry Fontenot, I guess, press conference, if people want to call it that, or just scrum?
Yeah. He refused to comment on Deshaun Watson or Calvin Ridley, like at all. Mike Rothstein and D-Led asked him like at least 3 times, like 3 or 4 times. Like it was just like and he was like, guys, like come on, like
he's gonna keep it
like
cutthroat.
He knows that they're like. Of course you had to ask, but like, come on, guys. Like, he's not going to tell you anything. Like, I don't know what you expect. Like, come on.
I don't think any head coach in the league will tell you about it.
No, but, so there was that took up a surprisingly large chunk of the press conference after he was like, I'm not going to say anything. And then, he was just talking a lot about like, they're going to be turning over, every stone for talent. He really did say some stuff, that made you think like Deion Jones' days were numbered. And then later, the quote came out the report from Jeff Schultz came out like, oh, they're not gonna cut him. So I don't know if like he didn't like how his press conference quote got put out there or what, and they needed to put something else out. But that was interesting. But basically just that the roster is very much in progress. He's like, he and Smith, and we talked to Kyle Smith as well, the VP of personnel, a couple days ago, and he was also saying the same thing. Like, this is just the first draft. Like, we're gonna keep shuffling just like we did during the season last year. We're gonna keep shuffling the bottom of the roster. We're gonna keep bringing in guys and then at final cuts we're gonna take a long hard look at everyone else who gets cut. Like, so don't just assume that they're not gonna make any moves. Like, they could make moves at any time. They probably will make more moves, hopefully at left guard. I've been hoping for that all off season. So we'll see. But like I think they thought Eddie Goldman was gonna be there. Like, oh, we're gonna get a vet in here that's gonna pump people up, and then Goldman retires. So I think there is one more move like that forthcoming. I don't know what position it's going to come at. I would love to see like Trey Flowers, or obviously like a guard like Eric Flowers. I would love like a 2 or 3 year deal to really solidify left guard, because you have the money to sign him now. I think I don't know if he would be willing to sign at a low enough number that they could afford him this year. But, if it's a 3-year deal, you can make it work, but maybe they don't want to necessarily commit to someone like that long term. But, I think there's one more starter signing forthcoming. I just don't know where it is. And I think they've all sort of hinted at that.
And we've seen in the past, there's been some rude awakenings for Falcons preseason games. Like that not even first, could be a second one. And like,
it's going to be the second one.
And it could just prompt a sign right there, because whoever's playing left guard gets lit up, or if the team's allowing like 5 yards per carry, the first team defense, they might have to make a decision like, we need to find a quality guard, or we need to sign defensive tackle to take on double teams. So we've seen in the past that will make moves. I know this is a totally new regime, and I feel like this new regime is pretty direct with their press conferences. Like, you don't get too much out of it when it comes to like noteworthy headlines. They're more pretty cutthroat. It is what it is. But look, preseason could change the landscape. The whole purpose of this show is just we want you, obviously you got to get your, what you've seen is what you got to get off. Like, what you've observed the first 4 or 5 days or so. But these aren't conclusive takes. Like, we got to see actual game footage, but, we're just trying to give the people what they can.
Yeah. Shout out to the, people have taken notice, that I shoot every single rep, I'll just say that, like, people at the facility. So I'm starting to feel like, oh, maybe they like cut down on what they're showing the press because of me. Like, I'm just shooting too much. So
dude with the long hair, man.
I know, it's like, right, it's just like, look, that dude shoots every rep. We can't show you anymore. It's like, oh, sorry.
Well, the good news is the people appreciate you. You're the people's champ. I think Cordell Patterson's the players' people's champ, but you're like the
Yes, yeah.
media people champ right
Okay,
now.
I'll
So
accept. I'll accept
yeah,
that mantle.
because
Yeah,
I feel like Cordell Patterson
I
last year.
can't beat Cordell Patterson. I don't want to beat Cordell Patterson. I don't. I don't want to beat that. He's too good. So
yeah, you just gotta try to get exclusive with him at this point.
yeah, yeah. You know, maybe now we have a shot. So
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think those are all my questions.
Okay,
I don't know, any other funny moments you want to mention from the or anything memorable?
No, I mean it was cool to get to meet Steve Weish a couple days ago.
Oh,
Shout out to Steve, great dude, super nice, super helpful. I believe we're gonna get him on the show at some point.
Yeah.
It was nice to meet a bunch of folks there. Connect with all the media members, connect with all the fans. I took people have been asking me to take selfies on the sidelines. That's the first time it's ever happened to me. So,
that's fulfilling.
So like, thank you. That's fun. Definitely don't mind doing it as long as like don't ask me to take any selfies during like 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. But if it's just drills, like absolutely, that's fine. And like I'll try to tell you like, hey, like give me 5 minutes or something. But it's fun. Like I enjoy meeting you guys. It's cool. We got to take advantage of the. You're only going to get me down in Atlanta for like a handful of days a year, so you got to take advantage. So,
and you're there from the jump, which I think you're there at the perfect time too. So,
oh yeah, that's that's why do you think I came this week?
Yeah,
this is the time to be here. So, but yeah, in the future I might stay a little bit longer. Maybe a couple more days here and there. Maybe
when you head out?
Wednesday.
Okay.
So I'll be here 2 more practices, and then be back to New York, but then it'll be like, we're like a week away from the preseason. So, then once the preseason starts, everything sort of just shifts to like, okay, now we don't care about training camp anymore. Now we just want to like watch the preseason film like 4 times and like draw way too many conclusions from that. So
yeah, like who got that pressure? Like,
yep.
He had that one bull rush.
Yep.
He might have 10 sack potential because of it. These are the observations that will be coming in.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we'll be doing our preseason play-by-play again, guys. It'll be fun. I do have it on pretty good authority that we're probably not going to see, like, a ton of the starters in preseason week 1. That's not, like, a surprise to anyone that follows the preseason. But, just keep your expectations in check for the first preseason game, as usual. But I do think we're going to see a lot more starters in preseason game 2 than we did last year. I like to think that they probably learned their lesson on that one. They got roasted for that, man, and
well deserved.
Yeah. So I think week 2 the preseason is gonna be a lot more fun this year. Not just endless Matt Sims, dropbacks. Maybe they will sign another camp arm. I don't know, but I think it'll be interesting to watch that for sure. And I'll be back at, like I said, practice tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll have a couple more shows. Wednesday, the show might go up like Thursday instead, just because I don't know if I'll have time to record before I get on the plane. But yeah, guys, I appreciate Allen for coming on. It's cool to talk to you, Allen. I know we'll link up during the season too.
Absolutely, man. Kevin's the workings man right now. He's been relentless. I was like, I got to do my part right now. Now I want to get your takes in, and it's been awesome. Like I think people are buzzing because I think with the Falcons beat now. It's like rapidly changing, and to see you take the full initiative, I'm just like I'm scrolling down my timeline. Oh, Kevin has this, he has that. Like you've really proven yourself to be like a right-handed man for the role. So it's awesome to see, and I'm glad that people appreciate it because between the footage, the quotes, the takes, like we need all this, and you're doing a hell of a job.
People want it. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like people sure, it's great. Like, Rothstein's notes are great. Like I always look at Rothstein's notes too, because I want another set of eyes on what I saw. But like that alone is not enough for fans now. Like if they're going to they want the play-by-play. They, within reason, Falcons, if you're listening, I'm sorry, I'm not going to tweet out anything about scheme, I promise. Narrow angle shots, I don't want to reveal anything to opponents. I don't want to, give other teams a competitive advantage, but, especially days when there's fans there, what do you want me to do? Any team could send a scout to Falcons practice if there's fans there and watch what you're doing. So, there's no point in hiding anything if you're going to have fans there, honestly. But I understand, I'm going to record everything that I can. I'm going to put it out there. and I'm gonna get the quotes. I'm gonna get all this stuff, and like you guys want it. Like if it was like, oh, these quotes are getting like one like and like nobody cares, then I wouldn't do it. But you guys clearly want it. There's clearly an appetite for it. I think there's been an appetite for a long time. I honestly can't believe someone didn't, like it's just, I feel like people have gotten complacent. I'm not trying to call anyone out, but
but
it's just like I feel like, and this isn't just the Atlanta beat either.
Yeah.
This is like every team's beat. Like I think
Right.
people like the new age is coming. Fans want more and more, and they hang on every word from training camp, and that's silly, right? Like every play of training camp is not that meaningful, but people just football is king. NFL is
Right,
king.
people love football, exactly.
There hasn't been football in an eternity. People just want to see football. They just want to talk about football. And like you don't even, it's not that hard. Like, I mean, it's a lot of work. Like it's a lot of uploading. Like, I mean, I usually wrap up at like 10, 11 p.m. every night with all the stuff. But like, and like for me, it's like, oh, I'm only here for a week, so I can handle that really high workload for like a week. But I understand guys that are going to be here every day for 6 months. Like you maybe don't want to go that hard, and that's fine. Like within reason, certainly. But I want to give you guys what I can while I'm here, and it's been good. I appreciate the feedback and the support. And on that note, like and subscribe. If you want to donate to the training camp fund, we're well underway now. You guys have really pitched in a lot over the last couple days. The link to that is in the show description. For those listening to the podcast version, you could donate at streamlabs.com/thefalcoholic/tip. And if you wanted to add a question or whatever, you could do that. I will read it on the next show like I did at the top of this one. And then I've also enabled tipping on my Twitter because people were asking about it, which is very flattering. Thank you. So if you'd rather do like Venmo or whatever, if that's easier for you, you can do it on there. Then we have the Patreon too. We're filling up the fantasy leagues. If you're interested in getting in on the, you're welcome. If you want to play fantasy with us, Alan, you don't have to pay.
Ooh.
You can just come in. So.
Oh no! Hey, I'm ready for whatever. I'm very competitive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can get Alan in too because we got Adnan, we got Dave, we got Evan. We're gonna split up everybody probably into 2 leagues because we have a lot of interest right now. But if you're interested, we'll definitely get you in.
Yes, I'm
absolutely. So Alan's gonna come too, guys. If you want in, hit the Patreon, patreon.com/Falcoholic Live. All tiers have access to the fantasy leagues. So yeah, just make sure you sign up by like the end of preseason week 1 because we're probably gonna have the draft like preseason week 2. So like sign up soon if you want in because we're in the planning stages now. Yeah, guys, we really appreciate everyone for watching, everyone for tuning in tonight. Still in the hundreds of viewers on day 5 of training camp, so clearly the fervor has not died down at all, which is great. Like I said, we'll be back out there for a couple more days. We will have Adnan there on Saturday of this coming Saturday as well, so you guys are going to get at least one more day of coverage after I leave too. And Adnan's been doing a great job when he's been there as well. He's, I'm not afraid to admit some of his videos were better. I was like, I don't need to upload that play. Adnan's angle was way better. So, he's got the good eye too.
Good healthy competition.
Yeah. It makes it, it's making me. We're getting the competition at the Falcoholic too. We're pushing for spots. I can't get complacent. Yeah, I can't get complacent. I'm talking about other people getting complacent. I can't get complacent. So, but again, thank you, Alan. He's at Allen Strk, no underscore, just Allen Strk.
Can I make one final point?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Free Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, hashtag free Calvin Ridley, guys. Free Rid. We'll definitely have a show about that, like dedicated to that topic. It's just like today, I think tempers are high. I certainly have a high temperature on it. So it deserves its own full show. I feel like
any rational human being would have a certain type of feeling towards it. So yeah,
I agree. So we'll definitely get to that and the topic of Ridley as well. But it probably deserves its own show. Not being squeezed into like a million training camp takes. So, but yeah, we definitely know what happened and, hashtag free Rid. So, Cordell Patterson's leading the charge there. So good on him. He's just the Falcons legend already. He's played here 1 year. He's already a Falcons legend.
People's champ.
Yep. The people's champion. So, guys, Alan is at Allen Strk. Like I said, Alan, anything you'd like to plug, anything at all?
I'm still kind of like brainstorming article ideas for the preseason, but I guess I'll let people know I'm hoping to be covering the Falcons Jets. They're going to MetLife. I live in New York, and that's a Monday night, which is pretty cool. So hopefully I will be at Falcons Jets, and I'll be doing my best when it comes to reporting. I haven't covered a game since 2018, so it'll be really cool to be back in.
Yep. I think we can get you. I think we can get you there.
Sweet.
Yep. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, like and subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. We will be back tomorrow for some more training camp takes. Until then, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you. Have a good night, and we'll see you bright and early for another day of Falcons training camp on Tuesday. Until then, guys, have a great night, folks.